Am I live now? Yeah, sorry. All right, welcome guys. So sorry about that. I messed up on my program here once again. So I'm still getting used to this, but welcome. Thanks for joining me tonight. And sorry for that technical difficulty there. But Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a great time off or had some time off and getting those resolutions together. And I'm really hoping one of them is going to be getting that bathroom done that you've been wanting to have done for the last couple of years or decades for that matter. So yeah, tonight is really going to be about a part 2 series of my course. So let me get my head out of the way so I can get right into it. I'm so sorry that, things got messed up there. But yeah, so anyways, tonight is going to be the second part of this series. So I'm really excited to start out this new year and get into this course because I think a lot of the information that I'm going to pass on to you is going to really help you out with your own project. And then we can, really communicate together through this course. So I just started this course last month, and I have about a day and a half or so of it. A day and a half. So basically, I have created a course that you can remodel your bathroom in 7 days. Now, this is basically based off of the way that I did the job, and this is the way that I've been doing it for, pretty much a decade or so. So if you don't know me, I'm Steve. I'm Steve White. I've been a contractor in the Pittsburgh area for now 22 years. I started in 2000, actually. In the last 13 years, I've been doing nothing but bathrooms. So I've literally remodeled hundreds of, I've lost count. Just put it that way. I've remodeled a lot of bathrooms, but in the last 10 years, I've really put into a pattern and a rhythm to be able to get things done. And I'm primarily work alone. So all of this stuff is really geared towards somebody who is just mostly doing this themselves. And I'm going to give you a bunch of tips and advice and tool recommendations and ways to go about this. But this is part 2 of day 1. So there's 7 days in my course, and I go step by step on how to go about through that. Hey, John, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining me tonight. And the way this forum is going to work, the reason I want to do this live is so that if you have any questions, ask them in the chat. I can pause the video, go over some things, and this stuff is going to live on YouTube in the live station. So let me just show you that real quick, just in case you're not familiar with my channel. But if you go to my channel, Bathroom Remodeling Teacher, and you go up to playlists, now you can go to view the full underneath bathroom remodeling online course. So this whole month is going to be about giving you advice on, or basically going through this online course. So I'm still building it out, but I'm going to have it finished by the end of the month, and I'm going to go day by day, and it's all going to live here on YouTube for you to watch. And I'm hoping this experience is going to be interactive and that I can help you out with any questions that you might arise during these live streams. But yeah, if you go to my full, playlist, they'll all be sitting here basically day by day. So most likely I'll be doing 2 parts per day because there's a lot of information. And actually the third day is a really big day because that's when you install the tub and the tub and shower faucet. So a lot of that, or even tomorrow, is actually the day 2 part of this is going to be pretty involved. So it might be part 1, part 2, part 3, but I'm going to try to keep these live streams down to about an hour or so. But you can always go to my YouTube channel, check out what you might have missed, make sure you watch that last video on this. But I just also wanted to keep you, for people who don't always are on YouTube, just to know that when you're playing something that you can fast track this. So if you're watching this later on, you can 2x the speed of the project. I don't want to click on my own thing or it'll make it sound weird. You know what? I might do a tutorial on that next time. You can just 2x this. If there's a lot of conversation going through, you can kind of speed through things. So let's get to what I wanted to get over tonight, and that is going over the course. So if you go to teachable.com, that's where my course is going to be. And I have it in the link in the description below as well. But bathroomremodeling.teachable.com is the platform that I decided to use to build this out. And let me view this as a student. So right now I only have I have two courses available. One I'm still working on, so that's why there's such a low price here. I'm only selling it for $25. So people that get into this now are going to get a much, a very, I mean, it's really cheap at this point. That's really not, I just want to get people into the course. I want to find out what kind of questions you have so I can make this course the best course out there for this particular type of project. And it's going to be just a standard bathroom, 5x8, 5 foot wide by 8 foot long. And it's just going to have a standard tub, tiling, and so on and so forth. But I'll show you here what's really in the curriculum here. And so, yeah, I'm going to be basically step-by-step in a 7-day format on showing you how to install a tub, or first demoing everything. And that's what we're going to go partly through today as well. But tub installation, shower faucet installation, waterproofing, which is a really important aspect, hanging drywall and finishing it. I always recommend people to, if you're going to get into a major renovation and you have to replace your tub and shower, that you really should just go all the way and remove everything down to the studs, especially if you have like a 30 or 40-year-old home and the bathroom has really not been touched, or even if it has been remodeled in the past. You want to uncover what was done so that you can make sure that that plumbing and electrical is in good shape. And drywall is not very expensive. It's not very hard to finish. So take the mystery away by removing everything out of the bathroom, and so you can start fresh and new. It really does make remodeling a lot easier because you're able to make sure that the wall board and basically the waterproofing board meets up nicely with the drywall. It just prevents you from having to continuously patch things and trying to make those look good, but it also allows you to inspect and make sure that electrical and plumbing is in all good shape. So I really do recommend just gutting the bathroom all the way down to the studs so you can route things that you need to and check to make sure before you put thousands of dollars on top of that. You want to really be sure that you have a good foundation, that your joists aren't compromised, and that your plumbing is all in good condition. But again, this is all basically, I just do it myself. So a lot of the instruction I will be giving is basically for one person to do. So in my hanging and finishing, and I'll get in a little bit of that today, because the first day I usually recommend having that drywall sealing up. So I'm going to give you some tips on doing that yourself. And in towel setting, that should be the fun part of the project. I hope that when I put this together, that this is going to be easily, basically take away a lot of the confusion and the mystery behind setting all the materials. It can be very frustrating with tiling if you don't have the right tools, or if you're using cheap thin set, or you're not mixing things properly. So I'm going to show you a lot of proper techniques on how to do that, and it really should be a fun part of the project. And then I get into basically one of my favorite grouts, and that's epoxy grout. I think that's really some of the best stuff for white grout, because white obviously is probably one of the easiest ones to get stained. So you really want to use the best type of product, something that doesn't need to be sealed, something that has a little bit of crack resistance to it, and something that has a really ungritty feel to it. So epoxy is really one of my favorite grouts, and I can have a lot of great tips in there. But here's basically the curriculum. This is what I have done so far. This week, I'm hoping to get day 3 and day 4 put together. So I'll have 1 through 4, and the price will go up at that point. I would imagine my total price for this course will be around $150. I'm not sure of that yet, but right now it's at a very low entry point. I just want to get people into it. And I'm trying to build out this platform, and I just want to make it the best that I can. So far, here, let me show you a recap of what we did yesterday. But today, just so you know what we're getting into the vent fan installation. We're just running a wire for a light. I always recommend having the light separate from the vent fan, mainly because of the way that the airflow can come out of just a vent fan a lot better. So, we'll be doing that. We're going to be hanging the drywall on the ceiling, and then we're going to do some demo of the floor. So we're going to get into that today. But let me just show you what we went over. No, that's not it. Where did that go? Maybe it's behind here. Yeah, there it is. No, that's my picture. I had a video up for it. And that's not it either. Sorry guys, let me find this. You know what? Let me just go to my... I don't know why that clicked out of there, but let me just go back to the project that I just put together. So this is just a recap. And again, the forum tonight is basically ask your questions as we're getting through, and I can pause it and stop it. But let's get into the forum. Let's go over what we just went over the last time, just kind of a recap of what, you know, how you go about starting the project. And that's really, you know, this whole making this course is really about preparing yourself for the entire project, especially these days with materials being delayed, having a hard time getting things in. You really need to plan ahead and make sure that you have all your stuff before you get started. If you want to try to accomplish this in 7 days, you really need, you can't be running out to Home Depot or Lowe's every day. You need to be having a lot of these materials set up and ready to go. So in my course, I have a lot of helpful links that will get you the products that you need or that you might need, especially on demo day, because you want to get the water back on. And if you're a contractor working for somebody, you know that people have anxiety about not having their water on. So let's just go through quickly of the recap of what we did last time. So remove the toilet. A lot of these toilets are really old. You might need a grinder. We went over removing the vanity, and I explained a lot of stuff about the existing valves. Be sure you shut off that water before you get started. A lot of those valves are just not any good. We cap them. These caps, if you have 3/8 inch pipes like this, you want to have them ahead of time. We remove the shower faucet trim, the drain assembly, and this sometimes can be a very difficult thing to do. And it actually didn't come out in this one, so we went into an alternative way of basically cutting out that tub. You want to get these shark bite caps to cap your plumbing so you can get them back on. And then we showed you how to go about removing this tub surround. All fairly simple stuff, but things you want to think about and plan ahead before you get started on it. And then just a lot of drywall removal. Removing the tub, I go over a couple tips about that, and then putting a temporary light up for your bathroom. So this is all day one. This part of it for me was actually done before lunch. I usually get all of this done before lunch, and then I move on to these next steps that we're going to get into here shortly. But yeah, temporary light fixture is definitely important if you don't have a window. And then probably the worst part is just removing the drywall ceiling. That's the last step. I try to do that before lunch. You know, if you have blown-in insulation, it's not a fun experience. But again, drywall's cheap, easy to install, easy to finish. And if you're putting a new vent fan in, you know, you're better off just to get some new drywall. So, okay, so that was the recap of basically what we started on. So let's get into installing the vent fan. So after you remove that drywall ceiling, hopefully it's after lunch you go into that. I'm going to show you basically. So this is one of the things I love about this course. Let me get my head out of the way on this side, or maybe I could just blank myself out. So this is one of the great things I love about Teachable too, is this area over here basically gives you, a run up of all of the videos. And when you actually are enrolled in the course, it'll actually fill in these circles saying that you completed each section as you went. So if you aren't prepared for something, you want to go back to something, this is going to give you kind of an indication of that. I really loved how they laid this out. I thought they did a really good job on how to easily get around in this site. But as you can see, I have a whole bunch of links and explanation of different materials, and we're going to get into that real quickly here. But let's go into the video, and let me get myself back on here. Okay, so yeah, so this is going to be the vent fan. Oh. What happened to my volume? I don't know whether you hear that or not. Oh boy.
Turn off the power to the entire
Sorry about
place. Okay, so our vent fan installation. I don't even know why they sell these things. These things are so small and they really just don't do anything but make a bunch of noise. So we're gonna replace this. You just want to double check. Typically your switch is gonna be able to turn that off so you don't have to turn off the power to the entire place. But just make sure that there's nothing beeping. Use one of your sensors to test if that wire's safe. Now, the one thing I notice here that I don't like is the way this is attached here. So they got a big, like, you know, they got a, must be a support for it. Let me just get rid of that.
Thanks, Parker. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, you'll find all types of goofy stuff, and a lot of these old vent fans are completely worthless.
So I don't like this big U here.
Please wear a respirator.
It's just gonna like, it's not gonna allow the air to flow very well. So I want to just get rid of this whole system they got here. We can still use the same vent duct. It's just this whole section needs to go.
Many of you might not even have a vent. I
All right, so then
find that
the other
to be
thing
a
I don't
problem
like
a
about
lot
this
of times.
is that it's not even centered in the room. So we got a 5-foot room, and it's like 24 inches. So let's just, this wire is going to be too short now for this area. So we'll just get rid of this. I'm going to take all these staples out so I can move these wires around. Okay, so we got this wire for the okay, so this is the wire for the fan. Now, one of the things that you gotta avoid doing is getting too much into the details on this because you want to stick to your schedule. So I think the most important thing is to get this vent fan installed and then run your drywall, get your drywall up in that ceiling. So we can fool around with this later. So for right now, I'm just gonna cut this out and I'm gonna run a loose wire down and connect it to my box tomorrow. I'll have a little bit more time tomorrow, but I think it's really important to try to get this ceiling in because that really just makes it easier mentally, I think, to do the job the next day. And I find that even clients, they feel more comfortable about having the ceiling up. At least if you had that, it doesn't look so scary.
Yeah, and that is a point that I have found over the years that, you know, it really does kind of freak out a lot of people seeing into their attic, and, you know, they're just fearful of mice or birds or whatever it is. And so I always try to achieve getting that drywall ceiling up. It just makes everyone feel more at ease. But you have to be prepared that day on demo day. You know, with the amount of work that there is in that first day, you really don't have time to run out to Home Depot to get, you know, some kind of item. So that's why I want, you know, this course is going to help you kind of prepare for things. One of the things you'll definitely most likely need to get right off the bat is insulation, because most of the stuff probably already fell on your head when you took out the existing ceiling. So getting insulation, you know, some R30 or something like that is something that you want to think about. Now, if you had access to the attic, you can always put that stuff up later and figure that out later. But yeah, I prefer to try to get that ceiling up, if anything. And then if you get zoned in on the electrical too much, you could spend a lot of time on that, and then you're not going to get anything done. You're not going to, because there is going to be a lot of time in the project to mess around with that wiring, trying to figure out, you know, maybe what something was connected to, or you want to change out the box. Because, you know, in bathroom remodeling, there's always time sets on, you know, setting your floor, grouting. You know, there's a whole bunch of waiting time periods for things. Even when you waterproof the tubs surround, you have to wait a couple hours before you can even tile. So there are going to be some shorter days in the 7-day project, and then that's when you can go ahead and mess around with some of the electrical. Now, I'm not saying that if you see bad things that you need to address them and fix them, But, you know, if you see new Romex like that, and it's just like a simple wire to run to the new vent fan, you can figure out that switch box later and get everything connected. Those little vent fans are completely worthless.
The vent fans that I usually like to use are these Panasonic. They're 80 to 110 CFM, cubic feet per minute. So that's how much volume of air they can get out of the room. But what I really like about them, they're just really simple to install and they're really quiet. So I do recommend the Panasonic.
It is my go-to
brand. So it does come with an easy attachment. I primarily use this for retrofits, but since this is all new drywall, I don't really need this mechanism. Okay, so
it's great for retrofit, like I said. I love them for that.
So just find the center here. Okay, so we'll get a 2x4 in between here. So 22 and 9/16. Measure my box real quick. So we got 10 and 3/8. 10 and 3/8. That's 5 and 3/16. So we just want to just get something to anchor this way as well.
And I just like to do this because I find it easier than using the bracket system. It gets a little bit tighter when you install the drywall over it. But again, you can use that bracket system.
And then when you do,
it's just,
if you hang your drywall, you can put some sealant around here.
Exactly.
And that'll seal everything so you're not getting any air from the upstairs attic. So I find just the simplest install on a new build is to use this. And then this also reduces down to 3" for our duct. So we'll be able to get this on there nicely. But before I connect this, I'm going to connect my wiring.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so we'll connect the wires. Take that screw out. Just want to take.
You'll definitely have more airflow with a 4-inch duct.
Using these 3/8 push-in fittings. They're non-metallic, but they're push-in connectors. Makes it really simple. So you're just going to be putting this in a Romex connector. I would say about 6 to 8 inches is all you need. But you might as well prep this down here. So you just cut. So then cut these sleeves off about 3/4 inch to 1 inch. Just prep these wires.
You only need a 15 amp line for that, so that's 14.2.
Make that sure that's like that.
And that's a really important detail as far as when you have any braided line like that. You want to be sticking that the braided line out past your hard copper line on the 14.2 about 1/4 inch, because then you can get that wire nut to grab onto your braided line, your stranded line, I should say, and that really makes it sure it has a good connection. So you really want to make sure a good connection. You don't want to be crawling in that attic space later and trying to address this, because that's what, actually in the way that we're installing this, yes, you would have to go into the attic to correct that. I was going to say in a retrofit, you could still pull down the box and get to this connection. But the way that we're installing this, you're going to have to get up there to address that. So anyways, you really want to just pay attention to your electrical connections. But having a stranded line, if you stick that out past 1/4 inch, that'll make sure you get a good connection.
Like that. And just twist that until you can't really twist anymore. And pull on that. Here, and we can connect this tomorrow when we get a new box in there for what we're going to be adding. Okay, so now we don't forget. I'm just going to put a fan on here. All right, so one really important detail here is take the tape off your flap. This flap was taped in there, so you want to make sure that's out of there. And then you can connect this, and then a worm drive onto this.
So those worm drive clamps really help out a lot. And you just seal them with that foil tape. So I really find that that vent fan was probably one of the easiest ones to install. The next step is to install the drywall. So look out for the next video here. Okay, so there you are. So that's installing the vent fan. Very quick, probably really in real time. Took about 25 minutes. Now that's if you had a vent. You know, you already had a duct vent up there. Now you can end up, you know, I mean, sometimes you won't even know that whether you have one or not until you rip down that ceiling. Hopefully, if you're a contractor and investigating that, you know, I always try to recommend trying to get attic access. Pay attention to that, because you can spend another hour getting duct work run to that, if not longer, depending on where you're at the home and how you're going to be able to address it. But I'm going to go through basically what I have in my description below, so you can go, you know, click on these links that will bring you straight to being able to purchase these things. Now this is on Amazon. It does help out my channel or my platform. If you purchase through here, it get, you know, a couple % or something of the sale. But these links will help you and be able to get you to the products that I recommend primarily and what I've been using for years. But one rule of thumb on the CFM output is basically 1 cubic foot per minute per linear square foot of the bathroom. So if you have a 5x8 bathroom like this, 40 square feet, 40 CFM is really all you need. I don't even know if they make fans that low. Most of them that you see, even the cheap ones, are 50 CFM. But this is basically double that. And the reason I also like the Panasonic is because it's adjustable on the speed. So if you want to, you know, be a little bit more efficient and not spend a lot of money on electricity running it, you can lower it if you really just don't need the volume. Or maybe you want to let the fan run for a lot longer. You can do that by adjusting that CFM, and then you're not using as much power to use. But the maximum it's going to be is about 110, which is really almost triple what you need for a bathroom size. But, you know, the more CFM you can get out of the bathroom, the better. But there's really, if you don't have an existing vent, you also want to pay attention to the vent that was actually installed and how far. So that corrugated piping that I just connected to in this video, you have to be careful about how far away that was actually drawn to. So if you're over 8 feet, it's going to reduce the output of that fan considerably. Now, in a smaller bathroom, like I said, 40 square feet, most likely if you put that up to 110 CFM and you have a corrugated line that's, say, 10 or 12 feet long, you're probably still going to be able to get the volume of air that you need to get out of the bathroom to keep, you know, mold and humidity from coming out. And I just wanted to say that too, is that the biggest reason that you have mold in these bathrooms is because there's no ventilation or there's poor ventilation. You know, there's a lot of states, my state is definitely one of them, where a lot of the bathrooms you see, they have no vent fans and they have a window, and they suffice that window as being ventilation. And most of the time, I mean, who wants to open up the window in the winter when they're taking a shower? No one's going to do that. So what you end up with is mold on the ceilings and mold everywhere because there's no ventilation. So, you know, it's really important. It's probably one of the most important parts of a bathroom is getting ventilation to get that moisture out of the bathroom, because there's nothing worse than the moisture. Obviously, black mold is terrible. And, you know, so get a good vent fan. Plan to, you know, if your budget's really tight, I still recommend these Panasonic fans. You know, save money somewhere else, maybe save money on the tile. Don't skimp out on the vent fan, because that's a really important part of the process. And that's just where I see, when I go into places, that's one of the main problems is if it's not actually, if the tub isn't actually leaking, it's because there's mold all over the ceiling and they just want something new. So this will really help prevent that. So try to get something. I wouldn't go with the 50 CFM fans. I would definitely go and try to get at least 80 CFM, get that volume out of there. But there's 3 primary ways to vent the fan exiting your home. And the best way, I think, is a vent through the roof. Now, as a contractor, I've stopped installing roof vents on older homes. I just don't do it anymore because there's too much liability with the roof materials. If you have like a 10-year-old roof, I just don't even want to mess with it because I don't want to have the liability of it leaking. And you're probably better off to have a roofer contract do that. And, if your roof's old, it's a tough one to do. So I rarely do that, but if you're doing a new build or you're getting a new roof anyways in the spring, do a roof vent. I think that's going to be the most efficient way to get it out of the home. So you do have, that really is the best way because you can get the shortest distance. You basically just go straight from the fan and straight out of the house. Second one, which is pretty common, is a vent through the gable end of the home. So this is just a standard dryer vent, as you can see. And that's a fairly straightforward, but a lot of times those gable ends can be a lot further away from where your bathroom is. And like I said, you don't want to be using the corrugated, the flexible ductwork more than 8 feet. I would even steer away from it. Even if it is 8 feet, I'd probably still want to hard pipe it at that point because that's pretty far. And that corrugated tube is what kind of creates some backflow on it. And then the other ones I really like are these soffit vents. These things are great. These things are really easy. A lot of times your bathrooms are right there at the edge of the home. So if you have a gate or an overhang on your roof, these are really simple to install. So I got a link there for them. But this is the corrugated pipe. Now, one thing I want to say about the corrugated is if you're in an attic space, you really should go with insulation. So get the stuff with the insulation because humid air in the cold winter could create some condensation and cause some problems. So if you insulate the pipe, even if you went with the hard pipe, get some insulation to cover that as well. And I am guilty of a lot of times not having insulated things. You might see some videos that I have out there that I did not do that. But it's good practice to definitely put insulation around it, especially, as the temperatures and the humidity gets more and more in your area. You're going to want to insulate to prevent that duct from sweating and causing a problem. Now, the second or another option is to use a Y fitting. Now, this can reduce the CFM if both fans are working at the same time. They can kind of fight each other. But as you saw in the video, there's always a damper on the actual unit that will allow, let me get forward to that, where that tape was on it. So let me show you here. Well, what did I do with that? Anyways, there's a damper vent in there, so that will prevent that backflow from going into that existing fan. But a Y fitting is another easy adapter, and I'll show you right here what I did on a roof line. Let me see where I have that. And you know what? I think that was on Instagram actually. What I've uncovered in this. Oh, here, I'll just show you this. So if you guys haven't, if you're not in Instagram, check out my channel there. I do put a lot of information on there. I put a lot of stories. I add a lot more content. Not more content, but just different content on Instagram. And you can also go there and find a lot of my videos. So, but here, I wanted to show you the soffit vent and how easy that is to install. This was a live video I did on there. So if you went to my bathroom remodeling teacher at Instagram, you'll be able to see all my posts
Definitely,
that I have.
Something that you want to consider going out the gable end of your home. So, but to really make things easy is using one of these soffit vents. So if you can see out here, I don't know if you can see that, we have soffit. I already cut a hole here. So all I have to do is just take that vent and run it up over top of your wall here and just attaches to the vent fan. So it makes it really simple. They have a little screen guard on the back so bugs and things don't get into this. But all it takes is a 4.5-inch hole saw in your soffit. If you have an overhang, not all homes have overhangs, so it could still be problematic on that. But I find this to be, I always have these on hand because I think this is the easiest way to vent your vent fan.
So let's get this out. So this is a live demonstration. Like I said, you can go on my Instagram and watch this. I didn't realize I couldn't download it, so I thought I was going to be able to download it and put it on my channel, but I couldn't. So yeah, I mean, this is really simple. Again, I just have the corrugated pipe, and I'm just right there at the window, basically grabbing it through there. And this is a scenario where the window was in the bathroom, and they had no ductwork or any venting out. They made the window as the code requirement. So this made it really easy. I mean, literally 20-minute fix. Then these things have these little wing nut things on here. So if you push them around those wing nuts, it'll hold the ductwork on there, or the flex duct. That's all there really is to it. So it just kind of sticks up in there. And then you just, and I'm going to leave myself a little bit of flexibility here to connect this. So you got the concept on that. Pretty easy. Now here's the Y vent. Let me just show you that real quick. So this is just that Y vent connected. Pretty simple. But those worm drive clamps really help out for attaching that ductwork to it. So this was, a lot of these split entry bathrooms in homes, like a split entry home, they have a master bathroom right next to the main bathroom. So they usually have, they're not even, the vent fans are maybe 4 foot away from each other. And so a lot of times when they have the roof vents right there, this is the way I go about doing it. I think it makes it really efficient and simple way to just attach a new fan to it. So not much to that Y fitting. Just want to make sure you're self-tap screwing that into place so that it doesn't fall out. So, yep, pretty simple. And then, if you ever did, you need to reroute a wire, say if you didn't have enough length for your GFI outlet, this is just another recommendation to put that junction box in the attic, because you always want to have accessibility to your junction boxes for things. So while you're up there, move that, get some additional wiring needed for things, and then you can always access it. So again, yeah, check out my Instagram channel, Bathroom Modeling Teacher. You'll find a lot of, if you go to my profile, and you can go, and basically these are all the videos that I have on here. But if you go to just videos, these are a lot of my live streams that I go over on things. So this is the vent fan. You can find that there. So anyways, let's go back to our course here and see if we missed anything. So spray foam is a good thing to make sure you have. You want to seal around where that exits out of the home. I didn't even get this one finished yet, but this is just a simple showing a different scenario. This is where I use the like I said, I didn't even edit this stuff yet, but I'll be having this out, and I'll probably put this on the course too, just to demonstrate real quickly. If you didn't have a vent fan, you can just, this is the gable end of the home, so I'm just drilling through with a 4 1/4 inch hole saw. You want to make it a little bit wider than the actual housing of the what do you want to call it, the dryer vent, I should say. So 4 1/4 is usually the size hole saw used for that. And then just basically grabbing that ductwork and connecting it. So, but I used insulated here. When you can use insulated, I think that's a better way to go. So that makes it really simple. Okay. And then I just have there's that 4 1/4 hole saw. I got some recommendations on a couple of other things along with this, so always check that out. But here again, if you had a question on your own project or something, you can always just leave a comment here. And I'm really hoping that on my course, this is going to become its like own forum, so that when you're on this page and there's, you know, there's already populated questions, that I'm not repeating myself, but also that you're getting other feedback from other people that are on this channel. So it's kind of like a forum that I'm hoping will be built out and that can stay there forever. One of the things I've been really, you know, frustrated over the last decade is Facebook. You know, I've spent hundreds of hours on there, you know, basically explaining how to do things, and no one searches for anything on there, and they just keep asking the same questions, and it's just gone the next day. So trying to have a forum that, you know, there's always going to be content to answer your questions, can be really helpful. And it's a, you know, sometimes it's a shame. Well, there's a lot of great contractors out there giving a lot of great information, but no one's searching it, and it's just kind of gone. So vent fan, that's an important thing for day one, I feel, and that Panasonic will make it great. So moving on to just a light fixture. This is really simple. This is for a halo light fixture. So one of these little 4-inch lights, I like to put that above the tub shower area, having it separated from the fan. So we're just going to quickly just run a wire to that so that we can get the drywall up. And sorry, this is vertically done, so I wasn't able to shrink it. But on the course, you can view it normally.
All right, so one thing I want to add to this, and I want to run that wire up there now, is a recessed light for above the tub area. So I just wanted to run a loose wire. This is made to fit in after you drywall, so it makes it a lot easier. So all I have to do is fish a wire over here, and I'll be able to grab it and connect this light later.
So 14.2, just 15 amp line for that. Basically fishing it right down in that box. Since I want to be able to get the drywall up immediately here, I'm just running that wire loose down into where the switch box is. So I'm not going to be doing any connections there. I'll be doing that the following day. This is just strictly to get the wire up there so that we can hang the drywall.
So I'm just temporarily sticking this in here, because then when I drill that hole, I can just grab this wire and pull it down and then make the connection. So it's just going to be underneath the drywall for now.
That's it. So you'll find out in my courses that I get straight to the point. I'm not going to overly explain things. I might be doing that here on the live stream, but you know, in my course, if it only takes a minute to explain it, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to belabor a lot of stuff and have you waste your time. So this was literally just running that wire loose so that you can grab it and get the drywall up. And then I have the recommendation here. These halo lights are great. I install a lot of them. Now this one is it's $23, not very much, but what's great about it is that it has the you can select basically, where is it? Yeah, so there's a little selector thing here. You probably can't even see that. Yeah, so there's a little selector here that you can change the the flavor of the light. So if you have somebody that isn't 100% sure what lighting is going to be good for them, I would recommend getting one of these because you can adjust it. So it goes from 2700K, which would be kind of like a 40 watt bulb, I would say. Yeah, between a 40 and 60 watt regular fluorescent bulb. And then 5000K, which would be like daylight. So you can, I honestly put them in there because I like using the daylight for my videos. It looks nicer, and then I can adjust it down to whatever they want. But not very much money, but you can get one that is just the standard light, and they're pretty much like $10. Yeah, even these guys, these guys, well, oh, maybe it's so here, right here, 3000K. So if you just get if you know the flavor that you want, it's half the price. So just know that that's kind of, these things are great though because they are IC rated, and IC rated meaning that you can have insulation around them, and it's just a retrofit box. So I'll show you that real quick. Basically, how this light works. I'm sure you've seen this somewhere at some point, but.
All right, so one thing I want to add to this, and I want to run that wire up there now, is a recessed light for above the tub area. So I just wanted to run a loose wire. This is made to fit in after you drywall, so it makes it a lot easier. So all I have to do is fish a wire over here, and I'll be able to grab it and connect this light later.
Oh, did I just do that again? I'm sorry. No, that's all it was. I'm
drywall
sorry.
for
I thought I
now.
had the actual saw. But anyways, it's just like a 4-inch hole saw that you cut. I don't even know what I did with that video. That was that same one. Sorry about that. Anyways, it's a nice, simple thing. And later in the course, I'll actually be showing the actual installation of that. So, and again, just helpful tools here, going over things. Okay, so hanging drywall. This is where it's going to help you out if you're working alone. Just got some strategies and helpful tips on hanging drywall yourself. And then, you know, if you don't think you can, you know, lift a sheet yourself, these drywall lifts are really helpful. I can't believe how cheap they make them now too. They're only $200. That's unbelievable. They used to be like $1,500, but now they made them. You know, I have one that I've had for over 12 years now, and still working strong. So here, I'll show you basically the hanging of the drywall.
Okay, so we're gonna hang drywall. I'm always usually by myself, so I'm gonna show you a couple tips on doing it yourself. But number one, make sure that all your screws and nails are out of this. There's nothing more painful than seeing something pop through. So make sure that all your ceiling joists are clear. But then also just take a magic marker or a pencil and just mark your ceiling joists, because this is going to help out a lot, so you know where exactly to screw in, so you're not messing around trying to figure out where that ceiling joist is. Just a little 2x4 up against the side. Leave it, you know, you could leave it an inch down, 1.5 inches down below the ceiling. This is just going to catch that side of the drywall, so when I lift it up, it's not going to just fall down. So any size 2x4 really works. And then you don't want to make it tight. You want to have room in here so that you can push this up. If you make it tight, you're going to have a hard time getting the drywall.
Yeah, even if you just left it like 1.5 inches down, that's fine.
Okay. All right, and when it comes to
And you can
installing
see
the
I
drywall,
glued everything. I like gluing my ceilings, especially
again,
when
if you're by yourself, I mean, it's a little bit more challenging, but having this board up here is going to help you out quite a bit. So I would set yourself up so that you can easily grab things. I mean, this Hilti gun is actually pretty nice. Has a little pocket on there, so now I can just grab this once I'm ready to go. And I got pouches of screws in here. I usually go with the 1 5/8" screws for ceilings. So like I said, you just want to be set up, because you can't really do anything by yourself if you're missing your tool on the ground or something. So all right, so we're just gonna get this up over that 2x4.
those drywall
They
guns are
usually
really
have a
nice.
marking pattern on here every 12 inches or so. So that makes it easy to gauge where your joist is. So you just need 4 screws, so 1 every foot.
And that's just using a roto zip. I think that's another really important tool to have for if you're doing this all the time. You don't have to use a roto zip, especially if you're just doing one bathroom. I would not say that that's 100% necessary, but it really makes it easy to cut things out like that. So that ledger board, that really made all the difference in the world. If you have your ceiling joist going the other way, the other tool that is really great and helpful is this board mate. So let me just show you how that one works. It's really simple. You might have already seen it on my channel here.
What's a nice feature here is this is called a drywall buddy. So all this does is you put it on here, put a screw through it, and then this kind of holds your drywall. If you're by yourself, you can just slip it up into that. So that just kind of helps you.
That flexibility of that plastic really is what makes it nice. So you could technically just use a 2x4 and just screw it up into that area and do the same thing, but the flexibility of that plastic makes it a little bit easier to actually grab it. So I just find this to be convenient. As a contractor, I just have that sitting in my, my tool bucket, so that, I could just screw that into a ceiling. So it's a nice, efficient little tool. And then, as you can see on this one, I actually had the magazine for my drywall gun. So
make sure those nails aren't there.
And that's it. But yeah, Caleb, you're asking me if I work alone. That might have already answered your question. Yeah, I primarily do just work alone. I used to have a helper, but honestly, bathrooms, I've just gotten so efficient at doing it myself that most of the time, I'd be working inside and my helper would be outside in the front of the yard smoking cigarettes and making it look like we weren't working very hard. So someday I would love to get somebody who's actually really interested in helping me and learning and doing things. But till then, I'll probably it's a more stress-free deal, just doing everything myself. And especially when you're remodeling some of these bathrooms in 7 days, it's really not that big of a deal. So yeah, I don't really sub out too much. Now when I get into like adding a new bathroom to another location in the house, yeah, I'll hire a plumber to run stuff like that, but yeah, pretty much everything else, it's just all me. So that's, again, that's kind of why I created this channel too, because I've been doing it so long by myself. I just figured other people might be interested to see how to go about it. But again, a drywall lift is another great tool. You can rent these things at your local Home Depot. Yeah, it is a little bit expensive for a 5x8 bathroom to rent, but it is an option. You can definitely do that. And then I have the links to this board mate right here. It's just on Amazon for $10. So it's not a very expensive tool, but it is definitely helpful. What else did I want to show you about the drywall? I guess it was just, maybe that was on Instagram. I just wanted to show you. I just posted this today. You might have even seen it on my channel here. But just the 3 different methods of fastening your drywall. Here, let me move this over.
Couple ways to put the drywall on the wall. The simplest one, if you're not doing this all the time, would be just to buy some of these dimple bits. These are made by DeWalt, and basically all they are is just a simple adapter that you stick in your regular drill, and this little big sleeve on the outside basically keeps the screw from penetrating all the way through the drywall. The second alternative is to get a drywall gun, and what this does is it doesn't spin until you put pressure on the bit, so you can basically have this up to speed and then drill the screws in. And then the last one, which is really ideal, is a magazine style, which has a whole bunch of screws already attached to it. These 3 different ways really does definitely make it easy. Okay, so we're gonna hang some drywall.
Yep, so those are just my 3 methods. Definitely the magazine's the way to go, but obviously quite a steep price point for that. I think that whole drywall gun with the magazine is almost $1,000, and then the screws are not cheap for those things either. So if you're just doing a DIY project, just get those dimple bits and get 1 5/8" screws for the ceiling and 1 1/4" for the walls. Typically works. So that's hanging the drywall. And then the last task of the day, and I honestly didn't even get this part of it done completely this day because I was already worn out from the day. But flooring is tough. It's hard to tell sometimes how difficult it'll be to get up, but I'm going to show you a couple scenarios on removing your floor. So this is just a regular crap linoleum.
Okay, so we're at the end of our day 1. So there's some things that I'm definitely in my favor, and one was having drywall and having tile over drywall. So If you had cement board, it might take a little bit longer. And then the other fortunate thing I had is just this vinyl tile. This stuff is just going to come right up off of this subfloor,
And it didn't.
with just pretty much minimal effort. Well, at least maybe I shouldn't say that.
So Ducky Love, they don't have Amazon up there? I'm totally unfamiliar.
Yeah, it looks like they just spot bonded it. So there might be some areas that are a little harder than others. But this stuff will come right up.
Okay, so that kind of wraps it up for day one. The next day is when we're going to be installing the tub and moving on with the rest of the project. So it always feels great to get done with the demo, but please don't get discouraged if you don't get all of this accomplished in the first day. This is really just a good outline of how to follow and get this done in 7 days. I think I actually left it at that day. I didn't even finish the rest of that. So yeah, Ducky Lovin', sure. Yeah, you can find my Amazon. I'll put it in the link of this description as well. But I'm trying to build that as well, just basically having a lot of helpful things together. I think I even have, let me just see. No, I can't even, I'm not sure if I can get to my, oh yeah, demo day prep. Oh, so I even have, here's my demo day prep, so this is the first day. So I do recommend that vent fan. I got the pry bars. I got the thin set tool removal respirator. These are those caps that are needed for 3/8 inch valves. Now you should know whether you need that or not based off of your own plumbing that you see. Lickable lock, that's kind of great for putting that toilet so that the water doesn't get everywhere. Gloves, and then these like shark bite caps. So I'm kind of building this all out, and you got plastic and the zip walls to do things. So all these things are just stuff that I buy on a regular basis, and these are all preparation of that first day. I do honestly buy safety glasses. You barely ever see me wear them, but I usually buy a 12-pack because I scratch them up, and on a regular bathroom job, I will go through all 12 of those by the time I'm done. But they're $15, and then you definitely get some gloves too. I'm guilty of not using that enough as well. So yeah, that's just a vinyl floor. That's probably the simplest floor to remove in a lot of ways. But you might end up with some tile. So here, I'll show you a little demonstration of tile, and I have one more for you to go over that I don't have built out yet, but I'm going to put on this course as well. But this is just a regular tiled floor, and you'll find that most homes that are haven't been remodeled in 30 years, the tile is actually usually pretty easy to pull up. So just using that big pry bar. I'm not using anything special, no hamming chipper. I mean, you can do that, but I find it just to be easier with just a big long crowbar. So dampen the plywood, and then using one of that thin set tool removal with the grinder just to kind of smooth it down. Now, a lot of times when you have all this thin set, you don't have to get it all off. It just has to be, smooth so that you can put the new surface down and it's not making any bumps with the Detro or whatever type of underlayment you plan on using. And those items I'll have down in the link description below here. So, yeah, the grinder strip discs, these are good for some of the thin set that they're not as durable. You'll go through this, but this helps remove some things, and they're just easier to use. Whereas the actual grinder blade, this is what you would really want to do to grind down thin set. But again, I mean, it's a little pricey, so you might not want to necessarily spend $25 just to grind down a little bit, because you can use that other strip discs for a lot more things. Well, that's $34. That's not even really that cheap either. So I guess there's really no cheap way to get rid of thin set. But I did want to go over something at this stage that you want to pay attention to, and that is making sure that your plywood structure in your joists are within standards for setting tile. And most of you are not going to have a problem with that, but it's still a good idea to know what you're dealing with, and just so that you know what kind of products you can install over top of it. So the TCNA, which is the Tile Council of North America, they basically have recommendations on joist spacing and plywood thickness for deflection. So the areas in between your joist have a certain amount of deflection when you're walking on it, and they want it to be at a minimum of an L30 360. Now it's a complicated architectural term for the amount of deflection that you would have, but really what you want to just keep in mind is not necessarily calculating the actual deflection, but just knowing that your joists should be 16 inches on center and it have a minimum of 5/8 inch plywood, and that would be in the specs for most tile installations. You can go with 5/8 inch plywood. I personally don't like 5/8 plywood. I like to go with 3/4 inch. But if you're doing ceramic tile or porcelain, 5/8 is acceptable, but 3/4 inches is the preferred amount. Now, if you're going to go with marble or stone, you actually need 1.25 inches over 16 inch on center joist. So that's actually adding another 1/2 inch layer of plywood on top of 3/4 inch plywood for marble, travertine, and stone. Now, this is a recommendation. Doesn't mean it's not going to work if you tile over something that doesn't meet these standards. But none of the manufacturers are going to warrant, including the thin set manufacturers, are going to warrant the installation in any manner. They're going to say, well, hey, your joists are 24 inches on center and you have 5/8 plywood, too much deflection. That's not what we said our products can do. But it doesn't mean it hasn't worked and people haven't done it and it hasn't, worked in the future. But most homes are staying within those standards, so you shouldn't have a problem. But just know that if you're going to go with marble or stone, that you need a thicker subfloor, so pay attention to that before you get started. But that's where the TCNA handbook is helpful to go over some of these rules, but that's basically what I kind of have outlined here as well. And actually, I'll put a TCNA link here at the bottom for you, so that you can purchase that if you wanted to. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you, again, was on Instagram, because that's where I have a little bit more organization in some way, is a different floor that you might have in your own home.
Bathroom remodel.
And that is with this
demo day.
Is this big, thick mud bed. So these little 1x1 inch squares, this is the type of stuff that you sometimes get into with these. So let me just demonstrate that. This was a live video that I did. I was just kind of explaining some things, and I do have the fuller edit, stuff that I want to edit and put on this course as well, but this just kind of quickly goes through kind of a method of tearing that up.
Okay, so I wanted to show you guys what I've uncovered in this bathroom remodel. This is day one, demo day, and this is where you discover all the problems and basically how the rest of your week's gonna actually go. So first off, the floor is actually a little bit easier than I thought. So rather than the old style, because I guess maybe it was the 30s and 40s they did this, but they used to notch off your joists and create a V on the old joist, put boards in between, and just fill the whole thing with a mortar bed. This one actually just has metal lath over top of a thin sheet of plywood. So really isn't all that bad. They have traditional joists underneath of this, the 2x10s. So I'm just going to be able to remove this, put some new plywood down, make sure it's level, obviously, and then go ahead and put a new floor down. But what I thought was really odd was this big bump out that they used to have for a hallway. They used to have a stairwell from the kitchen. I guess you could call that a butler staircase. I'm not sure what you want to call it, but they had a staircase that went down to the basement from the kitchen, and they had removed that and expanded the kitchen. So this was still left, and this is why that vanity was in an odd location.
I didn't really want to show you this or anything. So that wasn't really.
So this is all hollow. I could just remove
it
all
was
of
kind of
this
an odd
framing
scenario
and get this back to a normal
scenario. Now, I mean, obviously this is a very odd situation. I've never seen anything like it, but I just did want to just show you what you might be encountering when you remove a floor like this, because it's really kind of hard to tell. I really honestly did not know how difficult this was going to be until I got started, but always get yourself a good 36-inch pry bar. This is the best way to get some leverage, and then the best way to go is just to get underneath of it. You can use the head of your hammer for leverage, and then just start pulling some of this up. So I would just always use my hammer to use the leverage, and then this stuff will come out, you know, in some chunks. So you can see all this metal lath under there. So it's definitely not a fun job, but not so bad. So yeah, that'll just come out in big chunks like that. So yeah, not too bad. Just wanted to show you guys that. So yeah, that's really you know, because there are a lot of older homes. I mean, a lot of that stuff was in the 50s and 60s. You would see a lot of big mud beds like that. So don't be too afraid about pulling that out. But there's obviously a lot of different floorings out there, and that is something that might prevent you from getting this done in a timely manner, because some of this stuff can take a lot of work. So Ducky Lovin', interesting name there. Sorry that yeah, I don't know why all your messages got deleted, but yeah, as far as Ditra, existing Ditra, if you can pull up the tile enough and you're not actually pulling that Ditra out of how it was set. Now, I mean, that's the tricky part of it. You need to know whether, I mean, I guess you would know that as you're pulling up the tile, whether that Ditra is really well bonded or not. But if it's not bonded well, then you can't use it. But most of the time when I've gotten into removing tile over existing Ditra, it doesn't usually turn out too well. I end up having to pull it all the way up and then use that thin set remover tool to this guy here, this grinder tool, and grinding down some of that thin set. It is horrible to you know, remove Ditra that's already thin setted down, or cement board. Honestly, that's probably one of the worst floors to pull up, is thin setted down, you know, like having hardy backer board thin setted down properly. So the proper way to install cement board and hardy backer is to actually apply a 1/4 inch layer of thin set, then set your hardy backer or cement board over that on a floor, and then use those door rock screws every 8 inches. That is really painful to remove. The thin set is horrible. Nothing comes up easily. In that scenario, a lot of times I even just cut all the way through the plywood and tear up the entire thing. Just pull out the whole floor completely, put new plywood down. Now, it really depends on how well it was bonded, but it can be a really horrible situation to pull out hardy backer that's thin setted down properly. So, you know, hopefully the homes you're working on are 30 years old. I always said that if I ever had to start tearing out my own work, I'm definitely done, because it would definitely be a horrible job to do. But yeah, that's primarily what I had for you today. Yeah, the linoleum, floor scraper, pry bar. So I could just answer a couple questions here. Let me just get myself bigger here. Transition over. So, would a basement bathroom have a different flooring recommendation? Yeah, well, not always. You know, Ditra is my main way that I go about installing tile. But for a basement floor, you could just use a liquid waterproofing right over the concrete. And in a lot of ways, you don't even have the liquid waterproof. You don't. So going on my Amazon store, actually, let me shrink myself back down again, because that's going to be easier for you to see this. I'll just take out a block here. So if you go to my Amazon store, I have waterproofing. So what I would use for a concrete floor would be Hydroban. This is the stuff. This is just a liquid waterproofing. It's also an isolation membrane, so it's separating the tile from the actual concrete floor. This is what probably I would use on a basement bathroom versus Detra, because the Detra, the regular Detra mat, I have that somewhere here. I think that's yeah, is that Detra? Yeah, Detra. So this is the Detra mat. This is the stuff I primarily use for most of my floors on wood subfloors. You could use that on concrete, but I would not say it's really necessary. I think it's, just adding a thicker layer than what you really need. So that's just my recommendation on the bathroom floors. So Fuzzy and Care was wondering what you would do if you have a cracked slab underneath a mortar shower pan. That is a very common scenario, unfortunately. And it's really sometimes very tough to tell what caused that crack. Whether the mud was too wet, whether you have deflection underneath the shower pan, if the subfloor underneath of it. A lot of times the cracks present themselves because there is a leaking issue and the subfloor is deteriorated underneath of it. And then as you keep walking in and out of the shower, it's breaking that shower pan basically. So there is no real easy solution to that. I get asked all the time about going out to jobs. I just need a new shower pan. It's just the shower pan. It's just the tile that's cracked. I don't need to do all the walls. Well, as a professional, I'm not going to do that because you need to tie the waterproofing into the whole system. And it's a lot of work just doing that alone to get, for me as a contractor to do the walls along with it. I'm going to know that my job is 100% waterproof and that I'm not going to get any callbacks. So in that scenario, when you have a cracked shower pan like that, there's really no easy solution. In my mind, it's basically tearing that entire system out and then redoing it. And I'm going to have some courses on bathroom remodeling as well, or as walk-in showers and some of the best systems to use for that as well. But I would really pretty much just go with a lot of the times. Now, I mean, and I'm going to get into different systems and why I would go with one system over the other. But one of my primary systems is the Schluter system, and it's just really because of this price point and just the flexibility of cutting this down. The pans are really easy to install. 1/4 inch per foot, it takes all the work out of it. But for $400 to primarily waterproof your entire shower, that's really, really tough to beat. So yeah, I would, if you have a cracked shower pan, you probably have a limited amount of time before you're going to start actually seeing leaking problems. So Nick Heading, when do you think the full build out of the site will be complete? So on this particular course, so I'm going to have lots of different courses here eventually. But on this particular one, I already have the custom glass enclosure. Here, let me move myself over here. So yeah, the custom glass is already done. So this is a course on measuring and ordering glass. So I have templates on here for ordering glass. This makes it simple for you to be able to present your order to your local glass company. That's really important to make good communication, especially if you haven't done this before. Most of those glass companies that order or make custom glass, they're going to make you feel like, hey, if you order this and it's wrong, it's going to be a big expense and it's all on you. And honestly, that's kind of why I made this course, because you can actually order most of the time 2 orders of glass and still be under what a contractor is going to charge to install. So anyways, these templates really help out to make that communication easier, but I have that all built out if you plan to do, custom glass or doing any glass enclosures with it. But as far as the actual tub and shower, course, my plan is to have that done by the end of this month. I am on, I have online for you to view as, up to day 2. I'll probably have the rest of the day 2 done tomorrow, and then the next by the end of the month, just by the end of January. But I am selling this at a very low price because I don't have it built out. So $25, it's definitely going to be 4 to 5 times more than that by next month. But I just wanted to get people in it help, and I need basically feedback to a certain extent, and I just want to make sure that everything's making sense to people on it. So yeah, so John, you asked me, do I normally take the time to plumb and straighten out the walls? So yes, that is definitely an important aspect, but I would just say that it's better. Well, not better. It's just there's everything has not pros and cons, but you want to be reasonable, I guess you could say. So anything within a 1/4 inch, I just leave. I'm not overly concerned about that. The main reason you want to have a nice flat wall is so when you're setting your tile, it's easier to set tiles, especially if you're doing subway tile or any type of mosaic. Having all your studs all in line with one another on the same plane makes that a lot easier. And then, but again, even on plumbness, if I'm a 1/4 inch out, that's about the variance where I might, sister on new joist or use some drywall shims or some kind of material to shim it out to be level, or plumb, I should say. But I just, anything within a 1/4 inch, I kind of leave it the way it is. You can make that up very easily in your installation, even installing the tub. If your subfloor is out of level from one side of the tub to the other, that's a 1/4 inch. Not a big deal. Everything's going to flow fine. You can, depending on the tub that you buy, you might, you'd have to get that floor completely level before even installing it. But if you got something like a jacuzzi tub or American Standard, a lot of them, you can just use a mud bed underneath of it using mortar, and you can adjust that levelness of that tub. So I'm kind of somebody who just tries to get things done. I don't get overly precise on the rough-in framing installation part, because you can overcome a 1/4 inch pretty easily on most scenarios. So do you tend to prefer Schluter for your floor heating? Yes. For floor heating, absolutely. That Dietrich heat system is really, really easy to install. It has already waterproofing in it. I don't know if I have the Dietrich heat mat on here. I probably don't. I should add that to my waterproofing, or maybe I have it under heated flooring here. So on my Amazon site, I have the heated flooring. And remember, Amazon is just a convenient way for me to communicate what products I'm using. I don't buy everything off of Amazon. I try, and a lot of times I avoid buying from Amazon, because they do cost the distributor 15%. And a lot of the times these pricings are more than what you would find at your local distributor. So, sorry, my head's in the way there. But yeah, these are just recommendations to show you what the product is. And I would recommend going to a local distributor for your Schluter products. It's definitely going to be cheaper. But yeah, Dietrich Heat is definitely one of the best, easiest systems to install. And I've been really happy with it. So, but it really depends on, what you're doing. If you're installing a basement floor, sometimes just these little electric, the cheaper ones that, I don't know if I've ever used Lux Heat, but even this, and you can just floor level right over it, over a concrete subfloor. That's not really that difficult. So, and most of the time you only have 50 square feet. So what is that price? It's still pretty expensive. So I'd probably still go with Dietrich Heat for that price. Nick, you're asking me if each course has a different cost. Yes. And what I do plan on doing is bundling them all together. And I only have, like I said, I only have 2 courses, and I don't even have this one finished yet. But my goal would be to bundle them all together for a specific price. So, yeah. So what, I'll probably have a soaking. I have, there's so much content that I need to get to and edit. But one of the things that I was thinking, and the reason I'm doing this on live on YouTube, and I might even put this course just on YouTube. But my thoughts is that this is just going to be more convenient and for somebody who's more serious about really doing everything themselves, because this is something that you can just get into easily and leave right off of where you left off. If you go to YouTube, you're going to be doing nothing but watching ads. Unless you're paying to not see ads, because even this live stream right now, we're going on to over an hour now. if you're going to watch this course and do this on YouTube, you're going to watch an ad every 10 minutes. And that can be really distracting and not an efficient way to go about it. So, a lot of this stuff I am just going to have on all of these platforms, and basically the Teachable is just going to be a convenient way to go about it, but also having, I got to go to my view school. I got to look as a student. But the primary thing that I think a lot of people are going to want to buy into this course for is primarily to be able to access me here at the bottom. So you can leave a comment here. This is the place that I'm going to be spending my time. I think eventually I'm just going to stop answering questions on social media. Social media has hogged up a bunch of my time, and I'm not sure if it's really doing anything for me. So this is where I'm going to be answering most of my questions moving forward, as I build this stuff out more. So, yeah. How would you compare Schluter Curdy board versus Curdy membrane? We had this shortage recently of Curdy board, and maybe a lot of you are having that same experience, not being able to get this stuff. And what was I going to say is that I ended up doing just a regular membrane again. And I haven't done that in years, but the Schluter membrane is really easy. And I mean, it is a messy process installing it, but as far as affordability, you could save yourself $300 on a regular standard 3x5 shower. And it's only really going to take you an extra hour's worth of labor to actually install that sheet membrane. So, what Schluter usually recommends is actually drywalling the whole shower and then using the membrane over the drywall. So drywall is not very expensive, still $10 to $12, or maybe it's $15 a sheet now. I'm not really sure, but it's definitely a savings. So the sheet membrane is a really great way. It's just, and I'll have some of this stuff on YouTube here coming up when I demonstrate showing that the Schluter membrane. But the biggest thing is just making sure that your thin set is mixed properly for the membrane consistency. All the problems arise with Schluter with having either too thick of thin set or not using the right notch trowel to do it. So because it's very sensitive on they want you to use an 1/8 inch square notch trowel for using their membranes. And then you have to have it at a very loose consistency. If it's too thick, it's not going to bond right. But yeah, I mean, the Schluter Curdy board is definitely a way, but you're still seaming everything too. So, it saves time, but it's not like an enormous amount of time. It's not $300 worth of time, if you ask me. So, so it's, it just depends on whether, you're somebody who wants to deal with the thin set and actually thin setting that membrane. So maintaining your equipment, keeping stuff clean. Yeah, Duck Lovin', I mean, that's a good idea. I might not be the best contractor to be showing about taking care of my tools. I'm sure if you saw a lot of my stuff on YouTube here, you'll see that a lot of my equipment is in rough shape, and that's because I'm always trying to just I'm just more about efficiency and getting things done. And a lot of my tools, I wouldn't say I necessarily am the best at taking care of them. So, so Brett, you said, I'm a subscriber at Bathroom Repair Tutor and watched your content already with your new site here. Do you plan to provide any new content, deeper detail than BRT? Yeah, Brett. I mean, I definitely do. Obviously, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about that yet. I still haven't, me and Jeff are obviously not on good terms. So it's a real sad situation. I spent so much time putting effort onto that platform, and there's an unfortunate argument over copyright. And, I'm a co-founder of that project. If you're part of Bathroom Repair Tutor, you know that I was the one doing all the work and demonstrating how to go about it. So for him to stop paying and leave me in the cold on this whole thing makes absolutely no sense. But anyways, yeah, it took 7 years to get all that content on that site. So it's going to take me some time, But my hope is that I can get better, more efficient with demonstrating things and then having things found easier. I know that one of the biggest problems we had on the other site is finding, or people had a hard time finding the content that would help them out. But I do want to present. I mean, a lot of that stuff is, Jeff and I really worked that out, and it was basically based off of my experience of remodeling bathrooms, and I thought we did a pretty good job of putting that together. But I do plan on, basically, I mean, the thing is that bathroom remodeling keeps evolving, and there's always newer products, there's always newer methods, and these, even the existing manufacturers, they change their things over time. So, some of the stuff that we might have been doing 7 years ago was not the proper way, and it might have been a proper way at the time, but it isn't anymore. So, really it's you need to keep updating and keep getting more content out there, because there's always going to be something that's going to be easier and faster to install. And that's the stuff that I want to recommend. I don't want to be staying in what I've been doing for 20 years and just doing the same thing over and over again. I want to keep learning and getting better at things. And there are newer, better products out there that are making it that much better. So, yeah. So thanks, Brett. I mean, I don't know the backstory about whatever happened. Yeah. I don't know if, someday I'll probably come out with something. But basic deal is I got a pretty raw deal out of the whole thing. I spent all my time on there, and he's just, it's, I probably should just leave that alone right now. So, how detailed is your plans? I'm sorry. Let me just go back to this question here. But yeah, thanks for joining Bathroom Repair Tutor, even though I'm not a part of it anymore. There's no reason that I shouldn't have never been a part of it. But let me see here. Where is... Okay, Nick. Hope to see your channel grow bigger than Bathroom Repair. I do too. I hope so too. I mean, yeah, Winnie, Winnie is tremendous. I started paying attention to him about 3 years ago, and what he's done on his YouTube channel recently is absolutely astounding and amazing. So, and one of the great things I loved about the way he did things is just he's honest, and he's a hard worker, and I'm a lot of the same way. I hope to do a collaboration with him. I'm kind of following his lead in a lot of ways as far as trying to get this channel up and moving. And I think these live streams are one of the best ways to go about it. But yeah, thanks so much. So we're going to leave it there tonight. I might even be on tomorrow with day 2, part 1. But again, if you want to support my channel, if you want to, help me out and really just, help yourself out by, joining this, go to, bathroomremodelingteacher.com, and, purchase my course. Right now it's at a very discounted price, just because I don't have it all put together yet. But, yeah, thanks so much for the support. Thanks for all the new subscribers. Please like this, and, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot, guys.